Good morning, world. You are on the Daily Huddle, and this is us. Good morning, wherever you are, whether you're in Haiti, whether you're watching from Detroit, Michigan, or even South Africa. I welcome you to the Daily Huddle, where this morning you get to have a shot in the arm and a shot in the heart. I want to start you with this thing. Today, we're honoring mothers. It's not Mother's Day, but by the power vested in me, I'm declaring every day Mother's Day.
Amen.
I love my mom, and I think she'd appreciate this little quote. You know, motherhood is like a fairy tale in reverse. You know why?
Why?
Sheila, you know why?
Why?
You start in a beautiful gown and end up cleaning everyone's mess.
That is about
Mothers will do everything and anything for us.
Yes, they will. They will.
Take a deep breath and honor your mom in your own way this morning. You know, beyond cleaning messes, mothers are the kinds of people who go deep in the trenches to save us, just like my mother saved me. Today's question is, how do you get into the trenches and save generations of young boys? And I have a very special guest today to sink our teeth into this question. Good morning, Andrea. I have a question for you.
What's up, Darrell?
What's up, Andrea? Andrea, what time is it? And who will you be hugging today?
The time is now, the only time. And after hugging myself, because that's the priority, you know, it is always,
that's exactly right.
always. I'm going to hug my daughter after she comes back from work.
The time is now, and please give your daughter an extra hug for me. I've
You
never
got
met
it.
her, and I look forward to that time. Good morning, Tara.
Good morning.
Tara, where are you, and what are you grateful for?
Well, I am right here with you all. And today I am grateful for technology because I have a new computer, which is why I was late. And
a little faster, a little shinier. Thank you for being here, Tara. I'm grateful for you, and I'm grateful for your beautiful earrings.
Oh, gotta have some fun. You know me. I'm all girl.
So we owe today's gift of our guest, Michelle Jenkins, to my very good friend, my sister, my mother, Sheila James, who introduced us. And Sheila, I'd love to know from you, how are you?
I am awesome. I'm great. I'm happy to be here, happy to be live, grateful to be with you guys this morning, grateful to share my friend Michelle and her really gifts of wisdom, whether you're a mother now or yesterday. So I am good.
You are good, and you are the way you say you are.
That's
and,
right.
You know, you and Michelle go back a long way.
Yes.
How long have you guys known each other?
Well, we've known each maybe 10 years or so.
10 years or so.
Maybe longer.
I'm about to read Michelle's bio, and that will not do justice to her life. And given your connection with her, I'd love for you to add a little color to the bio after that.
Oh boy. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Would you love to do that?
Of course I would.
Well, folks, Michelle Jenkins has participated in personal development for over 4 decades. And what that means in my book is that Michelle got up one morning and said, you know what? I'm going to give my life over to something called a conversation. And every time I turn, I will check myself and ensure that Michelle is not present and that conversation is present so that the world can transform in the way I transform. So Michelle, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for living that life And as Michelle lived that life, she thought to herself, gosh, coaching is the space I want to be after leaving that life. But she really didn't find that for herself until she wrote something on social media that went viral. The outpouring was so tremendous that she saw the full circle of her mission to impact mothers to unleash the brilliance of boys of color. When I heard the title of her book, Mob in Action, Mothers of Black Boys in Action, I thought of my mother. And Michelle, I could not help but be moved because I know what my mother did for me. And today you're about to share with us what you continue to do for your son and what you want mothers to be fully equipped and empowered to do for their sons. Michelle wrote a book, and I said the title of the book earlier. It's called Mob in Action, Mothers of Black Boys in Actions. The writing of the book is not just a success story of a mom and her impact on her son. It is a timely interruption of the narrative and is relevant and important in our current climate of race relations and the image of boys of color. I'll stop here and give Sheila the opportunity to introduce you in her own way to her friend.
All right. Well, thank you, Sorrel. You really said it all. And Michelle really captures the essence of what we as mothers deal with, but she takes it from just concept to being in action, to having it make a difference. She didn't step over anything in the raising of her son. She dotted every I, crossed the T's. She raised an extraordinary son and then distinguished it for us, mothers of Black boys. It's so well done. My son is 25, and I'm now using some of what's in that book for him. So it's from no matter how young or how old, this is very useful, very valuable. I think it's something we want to get out into the education system because we have a crisis with our men. Let's just tell the truth. And now we want to, and we can shift the trajectory of that. And this book and her commitment does that. So I don't want to talk much longer, but she's extraordinary. I love her. She's a grandma. She's a Mima. And she's really on the cutting edge of the transformation of society, really, because this is an area we keep talking about, but she's bringing some hardcore answers, some simple things you can take, some exercises. So, listen up, everybody. And this is a book, not only get it for yourselves, and I'm really serious, purchase 5, 10, give it to other people, women, mothers of Black boys, really. All right. So with that being said, Michelle, I'm turning it over to you.
Thank you, Sheila. Thank you. And Michelle, good morning. Welcome to the Daily Huddle. You and I had a conversation prior to you being here, and I'm so glad you're here. And I'd love for you now to begin to dig into this question, how to get into the trenches and save generations of young men. Good morning.
First of all, thank you.
So,
thank you for having me. Thank you very much. Yeah. I've always said that what's missing is getting into the trenches, like being nose to nose, eye to eye with our young boys. I personally started when my son was in kindergarten. He's 44 years old right now. And I had him really get what responsibility was as a very small child. And it took practice. It took being with him in a way that could have been stepped over, and I have example after example in my book and stories and what I'd like to do is just start with how it all began.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So my son he's an executive at a Fortune 500 company. He's been there 20 years. His boss calls me up and he says, Ms. Jenkins, we'd like to, have a conversation with you. Your son, he's been here 20 years. He's extraordinary. He's like really implementing many, many things most individuals don't. He said, we want to know what you did. What did you do to have him show up the way he shows up in life? And I'm like flattered listening to him share this with me. He said, what we'd like to do is write an article about your son and put it in our newsletter. And this is a Fortune 500 company. It's a pretty big organization.
Mm.
And he said, what we'll do is give you a call back with the writer, and we'll just kind of share a little bit about what he's done here. And you share with, your upbringing with him. And we did that. And I posted on Facebook on a page of women of color that have voice of color. And I just put it up to share, not necessarily for a particular reason. I posted it, and by the end of the day, 5,000 women reached out to me saying, do you have a book? Do you have a podcast? Can you coach me? Can I work with you? And I got emotional. It wasn't expected, but it was a full circle, because 25 years ago, I created a project, and that was the project where young boys were mentored by adults, by older adults. And to see the impact just that message had, I began to write, and then the universe began to just tap me on the shoulder again and again and again. A publisher showed up, a podcast showed up, a radio station showed up. Before I even published the book, I sold like 70 copies before it was published last year. So the book was just published June 1st. And my intention of this book is to have mothers know that there is a formula to raising a boy, particularly a boy of color. Like there's a structure to put in, there's like discipline to put in, there's the practicing of putting that in, and it's consistent. My son got his license when he was 15, and I sat him down and had conversations about responsibility of driving, the rules and regulations of driving. And I had a whole list of items to check off. No paraphernalia in the car. Your GPA has to be a certain, at a certain level. You have to do your chores. It was a whole write-up. And he was a little reluctant to sign it. And he agreed to, actually, he walked into the attorney's office. I was a paralegal in a law firm at the time. He walks into the into the office and sat with the attorney and requested he review this contract. He was reluctant to sign it. And the attorney reviewed it and said, do not sign this contract. Because I outlined everything. I mean, everything. And it's the actual contract is in the book from, 1993, I think it was. Yeah, so I was very intentional. And when I look back on a lot of what I put in, I could see the fruits, of actually what got implemented when he was a little boy.
So Michelle, there is the fruits, right? There are the fruits. Your son, who's now 44, right? And an executive at a major Fortune 500 company. And then there's the book also, as your legacy, your contribution to mothers around the world. Speak to us a little bit about the genesis of it all, not what triggered the viral impact, right? But who were you when you had your son? And who did you have to create yourself being to be this kind of mother? What did you do for yourself? Because I'm listening to you and I'm saying this is accessible to any ordinary human being. And this conversation, I'm so glad you're here to give everyone that kind of access through you. So what did you put in place? How did you have to shape yourself? Who did you have to become to be this kind of mother?
Yeah.
Did you have to give up?
Yeah. Giving up my own personal emotions, and having it all be about him. Like what would be in his best interest, whether it be in a relationship that wasn't working, the focus was what's in his best interest. Traveling or whatever I was doing, is this working? What's in his best interest? I remember when he was in high school, and I'm just speaking of building it up to this point, he was a standout athlete. He was the #1 running back in Virginia. And he has Division I scholarship offers from every Division I university you can think of. But his grades were kind of teeter-tottering. They weren't quite stable. And I'm concerned now, like, is he going to make the grade? And I sat him down and I shared with him, I said, there's an option. Let's consider putting you into a military academy. And I wanted him to choose. I didn't want to force him. I wanted him to own it. And he decided, yeah, he said, I think maybe that might be in our best interest. I go to the administrator at the military academy and sit down, and I've had his newspaper clippings because he was this little celebrity in town, and I had his all his records from school. And I sat with the administrator and I said, look, I'd love to have the opportunity in having him here. And he said, well, we don't have space in the school now. You know, we have a waiting list. And I said, I'd like you to have a conversation with my son. I left the room, they talked, I come back and he says, we'd love to have him here. And I asked him if he had scholarship money. I wanted him to go for 2 semesters and they wanted $15,000 a year. This is still he's a senior now in high school in November of his senior year. And he said, well, we don't have scholarship money. We've given it out, you know, early in the year. And I said, you know what, go ahead and register him into the school. I went home, I prayed, I wrote Oprah Winfrey, Michael Jordan, Reebok, Nike, pharmaceutical companies, lawyers and doctors. I sent 100 letters out. And I had a pamphlet of the military academy inside. And the letter was short and sweet, but the bottom of the letter said, if you feel the desire, please make all contributions directly to Fork Union Military Academy. 2 months later, right before class was to start, he calls me, the administrator, and says, Ms. Jenkins, I want to let you know, we're celebrating our 100th year anniversary here. He said the alumni over the years have been extremely generous, but never in the history of this school have we had the amount of money come in on behalf of one student ever. He said, we have well $30,000 here for your son to attend Fork Union Military Academy. My son entered the school, ended up on the honor roll, which was not going to happen. And then he got to choose any college he wanted to go to, like any college. And he graduated from Wake Forest University, an Ivy League college. And, you know, it was just a stand, to go back to your question. It was like it was going one way because I said so.
Yeah.
I was expecting the money. I was expecting it, not like hoping for it and wishing for it. No, I was waiting for it to happen. What surprised me was that it came from one person. I had it figured out like a lot of people will donate a small portion, but to have one person write a check was just really was astonishing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was a stand. It was a real stand for him.
Yeah, grateful for that. Now, in giving what's in the book in some short minutes today, if you were to spell out with us three structures and approaches for mothers around the globe to be the kind of mother that produces in their space the kind of human being that your son got to be, what would you say?
Yeah. What I'm going to say is something that I lived my life by, and I passed the baton to my son. He's a clear example of what it looks like to be in the world and be thriving. He's extremely successful. And the 3 principles for myself that I passed on was belief, like bold believing. Like believing like you know that you know that you know. There's no doubt about it, like at least as a foundation, right? And the other one is structures. You got to put structures in place. And the other final is action. You got to do something. You got to be in action.
So let's take them one at a time. When you say bold belief, I get a sense of what that means, and I think everybody else does. But what was your bold belief? And how did you find that belief challenged? And how did you muster up whatever it took to keep believing boldly?
Yeah. So for me, I saw it before I saw it. Like there was a stand, there was a commitment, there was a no way it's not going to happen space. And I was pulling every resource I had, everything I learned, you know, how to find like locations of these individuals. You know, I was paralegal, so I had access to, you know, information. And I used that. I used everything I knew to use. You know, I'm at the military academy, and these pamphlets are there. I grabbed a stack of the pamphlets to put in the envelopes. And it was just like, what else could I do? Like doing all that I knew to do.
Yeah, that's the actions, right? But the bold belief itself, if you were to state it, to say, I boldly believed blank, what is the bold belief that ran you and drove you?
Yeah, like I said, starting out with knowing it, seeing it before it even existed. Like I was excited about the fact that he was going, like that he was going to be going to college. Like before he got to be there, like the money's coming and being excited about the money coming. And it was, when I look back on that, that was pretty daggone bodacious, you know, like to believe at that level. Like there was no doubt in my mind that that would happen.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, swimming in that water.
Yeah. And
And
I
I've done
hear
that over and
behind.
over again. Once you do it, you know you can do it again and again and again.
Again and
I
again.
have many stories of that level of belief.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beyond throwing your hat over the fence. It's like you throw your hat over the fence and you're excited and you're intentional and you're looking to have it manifest. It's like you're just waiting. You know, I literally had the experience of waiting for this call. Like, oh, they're going to be calling me any day now. Like, you know, like pulling it, like having it pulled towards me. Like, oh, the universe is generous. You know, you got to be open.
You know, before we open it up for questions, I hear something in the background, and I'd love for you to create it with us. You love your son like no mother ever loved. And there is that which you believe about him that is bold too. What is it that you believe about your son?
That he could do anything. And for me not to ever put a lid on what he's capable of, you know, like operating with, like I said, that belief, not even an inkling of a doubt about anything, even if it's something beyond my own expectation of him, like that, operating that way over and over. When he was in kindergarten, the teacher said to me, and this was a line in the sand, the teacher says, he's gonna, there's 25 spelling words we want him to know. And I said to the teacher, 25 spelling words, he's in kindergarten, that's too many words. And he said to me, don't get in the way. He said, you know, don't underestimate your son. And I studied with him that week and he ended up getting 100. And that shifted everything.
Yeah.
Like never underestimate, like they're huge. You know, you put something in their hand and give them like principles to operate from and structures and be consistent with that. Anything's possible beyond your own expectation. Like to look at him now, I when I'm with him, I'm like moved to tears. You know, based on who he is, how he shows up in the world, his level of success in the world, his contribution to the world. He's just really an extraordinary human being. And I'm like totally moved. And I could look back and see like, yeah, I did put some things in place.
Yeah.
You know, I did put some things in place for him.
Bold belief, structures, and actions. And inside of your belief about your son, your love for your son, I also hear a bold commitment for the world. What would you say is your bold commitment for the world? The commitment that Mob in Action is designed to fulfill.
Yeah. To give away what I got, you know, this whole participating in personal development for 44 years now, I got a lot to give away. And there's a need and there's a want. And I am like in a place of who else would be the one?
Yeah.
Who else would be the one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my gift to the world.
Well, Ronald Bertrand has a question for you, Michelle. Ronald, go ahead.
This is moving me to tears too. It's to the level of thinking that, you know, the kind of woman that you are, you can create president. You know, you create president. Create that formula can create president. But I have a burning question. So you see this young man going forward to become a father, and what kind of father you think he would be, and where was the father in this whole creation that you make? Where's the father in this creation? Where is his father in this whole creation? In creating him?
I'm having a hard time hearing you, but you said, where is his father in this creation?
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, so his father was not in the picture. And one of the things I write about in my book is that there was a journey for me, like seeking out a mentor for him. And I had it many years ago that I couldn't do it because I was a female. I sought out, the ministers. I sought out organizations that cater to young boys. I sought out even my siblings. I have 4 brothers, and nothing really came to fruition with that. And I just continued to seek out like a leadership body for him to participate in. And I continued to do that. And his father wasn't in his life, but I assured him that he would be in an environment where he could thrive. And he did, and it did. The military academy made the biggest difference. Then he got to go to college. He went away to college, and he developed himself into this man where early on, even prior to that, I kind of like stepped back and, let him let go of my apron, and have him be on his own and make decisions on his own as early as I could with him, because he didn't have that in-house role model. I did all I knew to do. So yeah, did that answer your question?
Yeah. Thank you. This is great.
Thank you,
for
Ronald.
asking.
Thank you. Other questions? Michelle, in the context of everything you did in the book itself, the book focuses on motherhood, but it is motherhood in service of creating and causing leaders in the world. Kind of like the way Ronald said, you can cause the next president of the United States, right? So the tenets you create in the book, given the audience of entrepreneurs here, what do you want to say is a lesson that entrepreneurs can learn from you as a mother?
Yeah, I can't help from really emphasizing the belief, like believing beyond your own level of knowledge, even about yourself, like being willing to be on the edge all the time, and it's like bringing the not knowing to the knowing of something or the experience of something, and to take it and hand it over to someone else so that person could hand it over to someone else, and you're building and you're causing and creating and you're altering a conversation. You're like shifted a narrative in a particular conversation, and you get to watch that from a distance, and I may not be here to see the full impact of my book, but I do see my son interacting with his son now. I do see my son interacting with his bonus son that existed before he married his wife, his 20-year-old son. He's using what he got from my book with his bonus son and his 3-year-old. So there's a level of fulfillment and satisfaction for me where I know that leg in my family is handled, like that's handled, like that generational line is handled, because of what's been implemented.
Yeah, and thank you for that, Michelle. Sheila.
Yeah, that was so great. She kind of answered it, because one of the things, Michelle, about your book, it's also the opportunity to really impact and empower young mothers with their sons, because it is, well, I don't want to say it's a struggle and it's hard. It's everything, and it's great, and it's fulfilling, and it's joyful. But what are the words? What would you want to say to our young mothers? We're dealing with so much with gun violence, our teenagers every day on the news, and mostly they're not all the times, but a lot. There's boys of color. And I really do see this as a huge opportunity. What opportunity do you see, and what would you want to say to young mothers?
Yeah, I would say not to ever take for granted that this little young male is running around your house. He's outside doing what he does, like having the focus be about him. Like my conversation consistently throughout the book is about being in the trenches. And when I say that, I mean like nose to nose, eyeball to eyeball, really interested, really searching, really connecting, and having like a level of intimacy from early on. Them knowing that they can come to you and say what there is to say. I can't express that more, that I see is missing, because we've done a lot, with civil rights and the whole incarceration conversation. And I mean, the laws being, like, a lot of work's being done, and it's so extraordinary that it is. And I say what's missing is us getting down in the trenches with them. I happen to work at a company where I was the director of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And most of the people I hired were young men of color from ages 18 to 40, 50. And what I saw coming through was consistent. And I could see what was missing and just having dialogue. You know, it's almost an epidemic that they were not tended to. And I'm
Wow.
saying we have to tend to them. My son was in high school, well, maybe elementary school, I was in high school, but I wanted to know what was going on in the classroom. He said at one point he was a class clown. I mean, I wasn't sitting in his class, but I wanted to know. I'd give the teachers postcard, little index cards and say, can you just jot down anything I need to know? And I'd pick them up on Friday. I was in the trenches like, no, I didn't want to know. And I'd have dialogue. If he's hanging an umbrella on his ear in classroom, I wanted to know about that, just to have dialogue about that with him. Yeah, and it wasn't anything heavy or significant. He says he had the best life ever. And every picture I ever took of him, he's either making a funny face or he's smiling and laughing. And so he got what he got, and it wasn't under duress.
Oh my God. You know, the possibility of being a stand without being someone carrying a whip. Your son lived a phenomenal life with you, and now he's giving that life over to the world. Thanks to you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Time flies on the Daily Huddle, Michelle. The time is up, and we're going to say goodbye to you, but not for a long time. I'd love for you to come back and continue this conversation with us, would you?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, folks, there you have it. I'm going to close us out today with our 7+1 tenets. The first is to love. Love like Michelle loves her son. And you may be saying to yourself, well, I don't know how to do that. Buy the book on Amazon. It's called Mob in Action. MOBB, Mothers of Black Boys in Action, in the trenches, causing and creating a generation of leaders.
Mm.
Thank you for that, Michelle. So love like Michelle, love
Yeah.
like a mother.
I have one more
Laugh out
thing.
loud.
I
You
have
were
one more
saying
thing.
something, Michelle?
Yeah, really, just really quick. I'm willing to give 7 books away to the first 7 people that send an email. They could send it to you or send it to me.
Awesome. Well,
Okay.
you heard it right here. Send an email
That
to
says,
this email address. Send it to sque@qm3us.com. The first 7 emails that come to me and say, I want to love like Michelle, will get a book from Michelle.
okay, so they're going to put that in the subject line, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. I
All
want
right,
to
7
love
books.
like Michelle, right? And yes, the book is available on Amazon, and you can get it for how much is Amazon selling the book?
It's $9.99 right now. It's on,
$9.99.
yeah, it's a discount. It was $23.99, but it's $9.99
Perfect.
for the next
Perfect.
week.
So folk, love, laugh, eat mostly plant-based, stress less. Life is not that long. Enjoy every single moment. Give of everything you have, especially give of your love, and sleep. Get some rest. We all need a beauty sleep, don't we? And move your body. And last but not least, check your assumptions before you wreck yourself. This is our Daily Huddle for today. We'll be back on Monday morning, bright and early. And we're here every single day, Monday through Friday, to give you a shot in the arm and a shot in the heart. Thank you for being.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, family.
Thank you all. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Amazing.